Okay, as Joan said, you're all very welcome to today's webinar, and where we're going to talk about kind of natural sciences and what it might be like to come and study natural sciences in Trinity, and also what that might be like as part of the new E3 Learning Foundry. So just to add to the introduction, just to kind of let you know who's on the panel today and who might be talking to you. So there's myself, my name is Matt Saunders. I'm in the botany discipline in the School of Natural Sciences, and I act as at the moment the Director of Undergraduate and Teaching Learning for the school. And joining us, we've got Dr. Nessa O'Connor. She's an Associate Professor in Zoology. Nessa also runs the Zoology Moderatorship and is also the Global Director for Natural Sciences. We also have Professor Jenny McElwain and Professor Laurence Gill may be joining us a bit later. They are both kind of co-course directors for the Environmental Sciences and Engineering program. And then, as James said, we've got some some student representatives as well who are currently studying in Trinity. So Lilia Sawyer's here. She's a junior sophistry student, so a third-year student on the Environmental Science and Engineering program. Ben Flavin is here. He's a senior sophistry, so final year student on the Environmental Sciences program. And Charlie Kelly is here, who's currently a master's student, but is a graduate of the Geography and Joint Honours program and studied Geography and Ancient History. So there's lots of different perspectives that hopefully we will all be able to answer the questions that you might have as part of the course. And so just talking about the natural sciences, just kind of the background to the school, the School of Natural Sciences conducts research and teaches on a whole range of different aspects in terms of the deep time aspects, in terms of how the Earth is formed, how the Earth behaves, in the environment, how organisms on Earth have evolved, and the interrelationships between ecological structures, and then how humans interact with all of these kind of processes on Earth as well. As part of this, what the natural sciences is really all about is really engaging with thinking about, what are the real major challenges that face humanity, and how do we produce the graduates that have the capabilities and the skill set to be able to go and answer these sorts of questions in the future. So we have a whole range of different degree programs, from undergraduate to postgraduate level. We're going to be focusing, as James said, on the undergraduate programs today. And so within natural sciences, there are undergraduate degree programs in environmental sciences, in botany, in zoology, in geoscience, in geography, and environmental science and engineering. So lots of options, and we will talk about those in a little bit more detail a little bit later. In the school as well, we're very research active. So there's a significant annual research income from a range of sources, from national funding and international funding, and lots of outputs, lots of publications in the scientific literature, but lots of engagement with key stakeholders, from on the ground actors to policymakers to our peers in the science as well. And because of that, we have lots of engagement with those stakeholders, lots of kind of industrial engagement, lots of like I say, policy, informing policy both at a national level and also a global level, thinking about these big picture questions. One other key aspect of the natural sciences is we're one of the schools that form part of the E3 approach, which is the engineering, environment, and emerging technologies. And the kind of the premise for this is bringing together engineering, natural sciences, computer science, and statistics to really think about how do we produce these sorts of, think about these solutions for a better world. And I'm going to give you a little bit more detail or information about E3 now. So I'm going to play a little video that really gives you the kind of context of the E3 Learning Foundry, and also then, how the natural sciences programs will integrate as part of that.
We have an obligation as a third-level research institution to respond to what are the social, climatic, environmental, energy crises in which the world finds itself. Human activity is causing catastrophic changes in our planet, and the real big tipping point is about 2050. So the graduates that come out of Trinity in the next 5 years are the people that will have to contribute to the solutions to these problems, and we're going to do it through E3.
E3 is a multidisciplinary program, and multidisciplinary programs are greater than the sum of their parts. The E3 project is taking students beyond the traditional area of science of discovery and moving us towards the science of engagement and collaboration.
E3 stands for a merging of environmental science, engineering, and computer science and statistics. It's a conceptual, philosophical transformation of the way in which science is taught in Trinity at the moment.
The E3 Norton Learning Foundry will provide a space where all of this can happen with the suitable equipment and facilities for students to really enjoy themselves while they learn.
That has really innovative spatial design features, including design labs and interactive spaces, which merge the IT and computer needs of computer science with the wet lab, microscopes, etc., of the natural scientists, all the way through to the high ceilinged areas for mechanical, civil, and scaling up prototypes of materials, robots, etc., for engineering.
It is very exciting to be involved in this new development where we allow our students to really learn and to work with and meet with and interact with people with a different discipline. I think some of the most interesting learning happens in the university when you cross disciplines.
Success for the foundry would be that, people walking past would stop and look and recognize that there's something different going on in there, and they'd be curious. They'd want to go in, they'd want to see it. It's not just the architecture, which is a part of it, but it's actually the activity that's going on there.
E3 can be a real driver for change in society. I think the graduates that will come out of the E3 Learning Foundry will be much more attuned to the ways in which their skills and training will be able to address the challenges the world faces, climate change, sustainability challenges, and many others. And I think it's a very exciting time.
Okay, so that gives you an overview of the Learning Foundry. And, as you can see from the video there, one of the key aspects of this is that, the natural sciences will really integrate as part of the Learning Foundry to develop, the graduate, to give students the training and the skills needed to really kind of, provide this transformational change, in the future when they graduate. And it's a really exciting infrastructure that will be open in 2025 that students coming in will be able to access. And as you saw in the schematic as well, or in the video, then we're developing a whole range of new programs. All of our natural sciences programs integrate into this, into the kind of the Learning Foundry, and there's lots of then cross-disciplinary kind of opportunities there with the other schools in terms of engagement with other areas as well. But in terms of coming back to the natural sciences, how students actually come into Trinity to study undergraduate programs in natural sciences, there are a range of different entry pathways. I've listed them here for you. So we have the TR060 program, the biology and biomedical sciences. There's the TR062 program, geography and geosciences, and with both of those, there's the option to study a dual BA option with Columbia University, and I'll say a little bit more about that later. There's also the joint honors program as well, where it's possible to study geography and another subject in a range of combinations. And then the TR064 program, the environmental science and engineering, which is actually represents one of the new kind of multidisciplinary streamed degree programs that has been formed as part of the E3 project. So what are the advantages of coming to Trinity? Well, there's lots of them. As I've mentioned before, the attributes in terms of research and teaching is really important. Trinity is ranked very highly nationally and internationally, and is also recognized as one of Europe's top research universities. We're part of the League of European Research Universities as well. And as part of that, we have lots of of academic staff that really are at the forefront, the cutting edge of their research fields. And a lot of that then gets brought into the classroom, where we actually adopt very much a research-led teaching approach. And this is really beneficial from the student perspective, because it gives the students and the graduates coming through our programs a really strong education and training in those particular fields. And what we've also done is actually thought about kind of course structure and thinking about how within each of these streams coming through the natural sciences, we can build this, kind of coherent, wide-ranging, progressive programs of topics that give kind of the core foundational attributes that students need, but also give an opportunity for kind of specialization, and also the opportunity to step outside of their area. So we have the elective modules within different programs that allow students to broaden their horizons and their skill sets as well. One key aspect is that all students do a capstone research project. So this is an intensive period of research for most of the programs in the final year of study, and that deals a little bit with environmental sciences and engineering, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is a really in-depth piece of research that allows students to utilize the skill set and the resources, the infrastructure within Trinity to be able to kind of, get to grips and answer some of these big picture questions. Other opportunities as well, in terms of the programs that, when we get to the specializations in terms of moderatorships, there's small class sizes, lots of kind of, direct contact with the staff, with small teaching groups, and there's opportunities to actually study out in the field. You can see from some of the images there, good opportunities in terms of going out into the field and contextualizing the information taught, as well as, the resources in terms of lab-based approaches as well. Finally, there's opportunities to study abroad, and Nessa's here and can talk a little bit more about the exchange programs if you have any questions about that. And there's really good career prospects, both in Ireland and internationally. So then thinking about the way in which students come into Trinity through the undergraduate science programs. Here's some information highlighted from our prospectus that you can see, and you can see the couple of the programs I've spoken about there, the biology and biomedical sciences stream and the geography geosciences stream. And you can see the coherent structure that I've spoken about in terms of what happens in each of those years, first to fourth year. With some of those of programs as well, we have particular entry requirements. You can see those there on the right-hand side, and you can find all this information in our Trinity prospectus. So we move on to the biology and biomedical sciences stream. So students coming in the first year will take 40 credits of core modules, and then there's an opportunity to do 20 credits of open modules. And the point here is that in the first 2 years, we have this kind of foundational approach where you get the skills that you need in order to progress into specialized moderatorships. And then after the second year with this program, you can specialize in a particular moderatorship of your choice. Coming through the biology biomedical stream, this is how you would come in to study botany, environmental science, or zoology, for example, but there are other options available. And those moderatorships then are kind of allocated on a competitive basis after year 2, and then you specialize in year 3 and year 4. With the geography and geoscience program, again, very similar structure in terms of having the foundational kind of content in years 1 and 2, with options to study other topics that are related and of interest. And then in year 3, the students then specialize in geography or geoscience, and there are now 3 streams to this particular program. So you can specialize in geography, in earth system science and geology. Again, these are structured in terms of core modules and open modules in third year. There's electives in third year for all programs as well. So this is where students kind of step outside of their discipline and study another topic that broadens their horizons and that's of interest to them. And then again in year 4, where there are more specialized modules, and then all students undertake the capstone project as well. Through both the biology and biomedical stream and also the geography geoscience stream, students can also could apply to the Columbia dual BA degree program. So here you can see for both the neuroscience and behavior, if you come through biology, biomedical sciences, and the earth science, which is the one we're most involved with in natural sciences, for this dual degree program. The first 2 years are undertaken in Trinity. It's exactly the same as the Trinity program structure that I've shown already. And then the final 2 years would be in Columbia University. And through the geography geoscience pathway, you'd have a major degree then in earth science from Columbia. There are some details there in terms of the application process. James is here and can answer any questions you might have in terms of the application process for the dual BA program. The Geography Joint Honours Programme gives students an opportunity to come in and study geography with one of a range of subjects, and you can see them detailed in the top left-hand slide there. And then there are different options. So after the first year, which is balanced between the 2 subjects, one in geography, one of these other subjects you might pick as well. And then there are opportunities after year 2 to think about a major or minor in geography. Or then, you're going on to do a singles degree option in geography or a joint honours degree as well. And again, Charlie's here and he can talk to you about those sorts of choices that you might make on that pathway and moving through that program, deciding whether or not a singles honour degree, a major minor degree, or a joint honours degree is the one that's of most interest to you. I might bring Jenny in here now because Jenny is the coordinator of the new degree in environmental science and engineering, just to kind of talk you through the structure here, because this differs a little bit in terms of the other programs that I've mentioned, and has different, kind of opportunities in terms of placement programs, internships as well. So Jenny, I might just hand over to you for a second just to talk to this slide.
Yeah, thanks, Matt, and welcome everyone, and hi. So this is a fairly new degree program. It's 5 years, so it's 4-year degree in applied environmental science with an integrated 5th year, which is a master's. The first 2 years offer foundational environmental engineering and environmental science. And then from year 3 onwards, you specialize into one of 2 streams. So one stream would be applied environmental science, and you would graduate after year 5 with a master's in applied environmental science. And the other stream is environmental engineering. So after year 5, you would graduate with an MAI in environmental engineering, and the course has been designed in collaboration with Engineering Ireland, so it will be fully accredited. In year 3, options open up. So the first 2 years are very foundational. There's not a lot of options. Year 3, loads of options come in. And depending on whether you're more interested in the environmental or the engineering stream, you choose predominantly from either of those cohorts. Year 4, what's novel about the course is the whole second semester, you have an opportunity to do an industry placement, most likely nationally in Ireland, but it can be international, or an international opportunity. So with one of Trinity's many international partners within or outside Europe. So that would be the second semester of year 4. And then year 5, like all other programs in Trinity, we offer a capstone project where you will do 30 credits in independent research supervised by a natural scientist, an engineer, or both. And then the last point I want to say about this program is that it's been co-developed by scientists in the School of Natural Sciences and engineers in the School of Engineering. So a third of the program is environmental engineering, a third is natural sciences like botany, zoology, geography, geology, but a third is bespoke. So it really is highly multidisciplinary.
Brilliant.
Back to you, Matt.
Thank you, Jenny. So one other key aspect in terms of teaching, and this resonates to some of the questions in terms of some of the highlights for us as academics on the course, is that we get to teach out in the field, and it's a really strong component to all of the degree programs that we offer. Is that it gives the students the kind of the skills, not just theoretically in the lecture halls, practically in the labs, but also contextually out in the field as well. So there's lots of field trips that are offered, particularly nationally, based in Ireland. So we do like lots of different ecological field trips in Glendalough, for example, identifying, and introducing students to, the environments within Ireland and the geology of the country, and thinking about, the ecosystems and those sorts of processes that happen in Ireland, but also kind of, internationally. So there are tropical ecology field courses that run to Kenya. There are field skills in plant environmental sciences that happen in Gran Canaria. There's some really interesting kind of, local field trips in Devon, for example, in the UK, that look at ecosystem rehabilitation, in practice. So you get to kind of, learn these skills and hone these skills, in the field. And that's one thing I think that sets the Trinity Natural Science degrees, apart from other degree programs in other universities and institutes, is the focus that we have on field teaching. And there's a web link there. You can see some really neat field trips from Glendalough and also from Kenya, I think, as part of the zoology program. So worthwhile to go and have a look at those if field research and field attribute aspects is something you're interested in. There's also the opportunity to study abroad. So we have the Erasmus EU exchange program, and there's also the non-EU exchange program. So if there are other, areas or institutes that might be interested in studying, it's worthwhile exploring the opportunities. That's very much structured in many of our degree programs to make sure that it's of benefit to your program. And Nessa can say a little bit more if you have questions about that in terms of the opportunities out there through the global team to go and study in other institutions, but an opportunity to, develop additional experience there in terms of studying abroad, if that's something you're interested in. The career opportunities is obviously always a very big question, and the opportunities for graduates coming out of these programs is extensive, from a whole range of environmental, agricultural, conservation, natural resource management, from the kind of ecological side of things to the waste management and energy perspectives, financial planning, and strategic planning in other areas as well. And we've had graduates going to a whole range of different areas, some directly related to the field, some directly in research, some in the public sector, the private sector. Others use this as a platform with transferable skills and end up in other, job areas as well. There's lots of key employers as well, and one of the nice things is that we have lots of connections with these employers. Lots of these employers come in and they engage directly with our programs, with research projects, talking to students directly. So there's a good opportunity to gain opportunities to network there as well. I might hand over to you, James, just to talk about the application process and what's required.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you, Matthew. So essentially, there are two ways you can apply to Trinity, depending on whether you're on your background. If you're applying as an EU student or an EEA applicant, you'll apply through the CAO. So that's a separate application process. And I think the deadline for that is in February. So you need to kind of have a look at the website there. But if you're a non-EU applicant, you'll apply directly through Trinity through our website. You'll fill in an online form. You'll need to submit a certain kind of number of documents to us. Usually it's some sort of predicted grades or that thing from your school, your passport, and 2 letters of recommendation. If you need more information about entry requirements and how to apply, there is a link there to our application guide. And as well as all of the academic requirements, you will also need to meet our English language requirements as well. Thank you.
Do you want to just talk about the scholarships as well?
Yeah,
James?
I'll talk you through the scholarships as well. We, in order to support students' academic journey, we do offer a number of scholarships every year. For example, we offer entrance exhibitions to EU students, and that's an award for the highest achieving student in the school their school that comes to Trinity. And then students from non-EU backgrounds, we offer Global Excellence scholarships up to €5,000, and for students applying through to programs on the as part of the E3 initiative, we offer a particular scholarship for those. Again, that ranges from about €2,000 to €16,000, and you would need to apply online, and there's a link there for you to do that. And I'll mention as well, it's not a scholarship that students can apply for before they start with us, but we do offer a number of foundation scholarships every year, and this is a very prestigious foundation, a very valuable scholarship as well. It's on the basis of a series of exams students take as the second part after Christmas in second year. And students who are awarded this scholarship, they benefit from discounted fees, free accommodation and meals on campus for up to 5 years. And this is a very prestigious scholarship. And about 60 applicants so 60 students are awarded that every year.
Brilliant, thanks, James. Okay, there's also an opportunity if you kind of go onto the website. I think you can chat to undergraduate students. So again, if outside of this webinar you're interested in chatting to people to find out more about application processes or kind of life in Trinity, there are resources there, and there will be people online from the global office to kind of talk to you there. And I will finish there. You can see there are some links there. If you'd like any further information, you can contact the admissions team directly. I will stop sharing now, and then we will open up the panel for discussion and questions. Okay, I know I can see there were some questions coming in the chat. Okay. Okay, so a question there, the first one here. So from Andy, it's questions about the costs of the field courses. Are they included in fees, or do they cost extra? They do cost extra. Some of them are mandatory, some of them are optional, depending on the program. But there are resources, there are hardship funds, for example, with Trinity that people can apply to if that is an issue. We are always, trying to make sure we get the best value for money for these as well. So we always try to make sure we make them as cost effective as possible and try to run them also in the most sustainable manner possible as well, in terms of what we want to achieve in terms of the learning objectives and where we then, kind of deploy the field courses nationally or internationally as well. Okay, there are some other questions that had come in already. So talking about how curriculum balances theoretical knowledge and practical skills, the labs, the field trips, the projects, et cetera. I've kind of touched a little bit on this in the presentation, that we do have kind of labs and, we try to balance lots of the theoretical context with kind of practical context as well. I don't know, maybe Nessa or Jenny want to mention anything from other courses that you run in terms of, how we provide those skills as well, or maybe any of the students want to jump in terms of your experience of actually thinking about the theory and context and how that's kind of carried through in terms of the lab or field setting?
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in. I would just echo what you've been saying, Matt, in terms of the field teaching. And in my experience, the students will, get their foundational training year 1 and 2 and the beginning of year 3. And it's really when they then go into the fields that all of that theory and all the lab and it just crystallizes. And it's always a comment. Oh, I can't believe how much I have taken from the field course, whether it's at a lake in Ireland or, on a savanna in Africa. So I think they're really, really important. Yeah.
I think for me as well, like teaching, that's one of the things, another question that came in about, what's the most rewarding part about studying or teaching the subject? So from the teaching perspective, for me, it's when you can actually see the progression, right? The theory and context you've been talking about, it kind of starts to fit together and make sense. And that's one of the real benefits of running lab experiments and practical sessions, but also the field-based teaching, that you can really see these topics, whether that's, the fine detail about thinking about, water stress and water potential, to the big picture questions when the students are on the ground in Kenya and East Africa and actually looking at the sorts of, conservation theory that we talk about in the lecture halls and what it really means in terms of impact, on the ground for the key stakeholders, for the people that live there. I don't know whether Lilia, Ben, Charlie, you'd like to come in terms of the lab or the field experience. Is there anything that that jumped out to you with you guys that was kind of rewarding or exciting? Do you do any kind of field courses, or what's been the most enjoyable? What's the highlight of your course so far, for example?
I mean, I really like the field work just because you get to go out and see exactly how, like, I'm environmental sciences, so I got to see exactly how everything's monitored and I could see how systems work. So you get all this data from like papers and whatnot, but when you actually get to see how the data is collected, it's really interesting. So.
Yeah, I think just to kind of add to that, I think for myself, one thing that has been really rewarding was completing my undergraduate dissertation, which would be just another term for the capstone project that we would have looked at. So I would have had to do quite a bit of independent fieldwork myself, going out and interviewing people on the street. My own was in urban geography, so I was looking at like urban social change and markets in Dublin, and seeing that coming together, seeing like theory that I would have used, like urban geography theory around symbolic capital or gentrification, seeing that come to fruition was just really exciting. And it was a really rewarding part of my undergraduate.
Yeah, and I have to say as well that I really enjoyed how the content we might learn in lectures, when we go out to the field and start applying that, it just made any knowledge and stuff you had really solidified, and it just made it make so much more sense. And just seeing the practical uses for it was really beneficial for the learning.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're talking about the kind of student perspective. There's a question that's come in about, can you say something about what your average day looks like? Do you have long hours? Is there time for extracurricular activities? What's the favorite thing about your course so far?
I'd say the hours are pretty long. It's a lot of studying. It's very like you have a lot of information given to you, but I do actually have time for extracurriculars as well. You just kind of have to find the good like study, like social life balance, because I do judo and jujitsu and I have time for that on the side. I used to do horseback riding and stuff here. But I typically get up and I go to school pretty early in the morning, but then our classes end pretty early as well. So I have time to do some studying in the library before I go on to my extracurriculars, which is really nice. So, yeah.
Mark, can I say something about field courses? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, let's just finish on.
I know we've kind of moved on from that, but just in case we don't get back to this, aside from consolidating the academics, what I have found from them, because I teach a marine biology field course, is it's without doubt the feedback we get at the end of the degree programs. Students will always pick out field courses, lab work, practical exercise as their highlight. But also because a lot of the teaching that we do in maybe first and second year is quite large groups, our field courses are smaller classes. So you get to know your class better. So as a teacher, it's more rewarding because you get to know the people. You can teach much better in the field, but also you get to know the students and they get the chance to ask us questions that they might be a bit shy to ask at the end of a lecture, or they're busy, they're running off to the next thing. Whereas if you're living with somebody, you know, you stay in hostels or whatever, it's much less formal, and everybody just gets much more out of it. So whilst sometimes they are an additional expense, they're really worth every penny, because you just get so much more out of it, and the class bonds as well. So then you start off, you make friends easier, and then when we do group exercises later on, you already have friends. I think that's something to sort of bear in mind when we think about as well. It's not all about the academics. If you make friends and you're having fun, you'll learn better as well.
Yeah. I think so. There are a couple of things to add to that as well. Thanks, Nessa. Is that, you know, when we talk to the employers, okay, the people that, you know, are looking for our graduates, the things that we do on the field courses, just, you know, that hands-on practical skills, that's what is really employable at the moment. And we can't graduate students fast enough in terms of the demand for people who, you know, for consultants, for example, that need people with these skills. I think as well with the class sizes, just to put that into context, I mean, you know, in biology, biomedical, you know, it's total of like, you know, 230 plus, you know, in the first and second years, and then you would come into your specialization, let's say botany, environmental science, or zoology, and that class size might drop from over 200 down to somewhere maybe between 50 and 40, you know, depending on the moderatorship. And, you know, you can see then the relationship then that you build within that cohort and that class, in terms of, you know, kind of the smaller groups and those sorts of dynamics. I think what's also nice is that, you know, there's lots of opportunities. You know, I think Jenny made the point in terms of the environmental science and engineering degree, is that the options open up. And when the options open up, what you also get are opportunities to take modules from across different streams within the natural sciences. And that then also provides, you know, kind of an opportunity to, you know, to meet, you know, students on these other programs. So, you know, the botany and the geography and geosciences, the environmental sciences and engineering, and the joint honors, you know, there are some modules that are open to all of these programs, which allows this really nice kind of, you know, mix of students. So you get the kind of small groups, and you also get to kind of mix with your peers within the natural sciences as well, which I think is quite nice. Okay, what other questions have come in? Okay, Leah's answering that one directly. Okay, can students opt out of the field trips? If so, how long? Well, some of the field trips are mandatory, and the whole point of that is that it would be difficult to graduate as a botanist, a zoologist, an environmental scientist without having those practical skills. So that's why some of the field courses are mandatory, because we need to be able to have students going out into the workplace or into the research areas with the skills in order to kind of maintain those or manage those areas. Okay.
Maybe it's just worth also saying, I think we've been highlighting fieldwork, which is key, but there's an equivalent amount of lab-based work. So molecular work, looking at the evolution of different organisms based on their molecular makeup. If you're doing some of the, botany, zoology, environmental science courses, and also highlighting, I think, feedback that we get a lot of is peer-to-peer learning. So because some of the class sizes are very small, a lot of the learning happens with discussion sessions with the peers. So these ideas of flipped classrooms are very beneficial. So rather than just a standard lecture, we teach in a flipped style. So students get the content and then they have huge discussion sessions, and that's where a lot of the learning takes place.
Yeah, true. Yeah. There's another question here about the length of the degree program and how many times a week students have lectures. I think one of the key things to also mention is that, as you saw from the structure, we try to balance the kind of the module kind of number and then the contact hours in the year, either side of in each of the semesters. The contact hours for different modules will vary, depending on the structure. They're normally, in and around, kind of a set, maybe 30 hours kind of direct contact time, but that will be a mixture of, as we've mentioned here, of lab sessions, of lectures, of tutorials. They will be different. And that's quite nice as well, because that, that creates, not just, a more diverse approach to kind of, teaching and learning. Okay, what other questions do we have? Okay, question. Can the students tell us why they chose their particular course? Did you find it hard to choose your specialism in the later years? And did you get the choice that you wanted? What advice do you have for students who are trying to make up their mind on what to study? And this would be quite good, actually, because there's another question that came in as well, that there's lots of overlap between the subjects: geography, geosciences, biological sciences. What is the best way to choose between the two? So, Lilia, Ben, Charlie, do you have any input there in terms of, why did you choose the course that you did? Did it all pan out for you? Did you get the pathway and did you get the choice that you wanted? And how would you advise students in terms of choosing what they wanted to do?
Yeah, I guess when I first came into first year, the moderatorship I was looking for was immunology. That was my initial kind of just interest. And it was basically over the span of first year in particular, doing just the whole variety of modules we had, like spaceship Earth and molecules to cells. I just found what I didn't like, and it turned out I didn't like immunology, and I just started kind of drifting more and more towards natural sciences. And with every kind of module that I did, it just further reinforced that I loved natural sciences. And I found that environmental science was a great overlap between both zoology and botany, rather than just focusing on one. So I guess that was kind of the reason I ended up choosing environmental science.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, just kind of to add to that, I chose geography because it was the only subject I could find that bridged the humanities and the sciences. And I think that's what's really cool about it, that it is so broad and diverse that I could specialize in the things that I was interested in about the world. And I could also discover what maybe I thought I liked, but I didn't like. Yeah, like one of those was Spaceship Earth. I discovered I'm much more of a human geographer. But that's kind of the beauty of it. And I wanted to do something else, so I wasn't like too pigeonholed into it. So I think my first choice was political science, but I ended up getting ancient history. And it ended up being great. I think one of the great things about the joint knowledge programs is just actually how much both subjects complement each other and how I could draw on skills I got in geography and apply to my other subject and vice versa. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between some of the subjects, which I think is quite helpful.
Lilia, do you want to add anything in terms of why you chose the program you did?
Yeah, sure. So I really, I didn't have to choose at the beginning because our course just starts off environmental sciences and engineering, which I really liked because I'm really passionate about the environment and I also love like math. So I went in really well. I was like, I'm really happy. And then I get to specialize between environmental sciences and environmental engineering. I think it's next year. But I just chose it because it was stuff that I was really interested in. And you immediately you're not choosing like engineering or like I didn't have to go through biomed. And I was like, it's all the things, like all the courses we did were specifically going towards what I was going to be doing in the future, which is why I was like, oh, this is really cool. So yeah.
Brilliant, thanks, Lilia. And there's a question there about kind of assessments and how we, assess or examine our students. So, there's a lot of thought that goes into the kind of, an inclusive curriculum in terms of, how we teach and how we assess. So some of the modules might be assessed fully through continuous assessment, and that might be lots of small assignments that take place over the course of the module. That might be a couple of larger assignments. They might be individual, they may be group projects, they may be presentations in there as well. And then You know, other modules have both a continuous assessment and an examined component as well. So we're just entering into the examination period next week, where lots of students will be sitting down to sit, you know, kind of their essay. Majority of it in natural sciences might be essay based, or there might be, you know, kind of, you know, technical exam papers as well. They vary, but there's lots of different ways in which students are assessed, and that I think is a benefit to the students, because it means that there is an opportunity for students to really kind of perform across the board in terms of the continuous assessment approach and also the exam component as well. Okay, I think we've covered most of the questions here. Biology.
Matt, there's one there about biology and biochemistry. Do you want to take that one?
Well, yeah, all right. You know, so yeah, where are we? Yes, you'd like to do a degree in biology, or torn between this and biochemistry. What would the advice be?
I guess you don't need to choose. If you do biology and biomedical, you wouldn't need to make up your mind until second year.
Yeah,
If that's
so
the way you're thinking.
And this, you know, this resonates with what Ben was mentioning in terms of, you know, when he came in to thinking that he wanted to study a particular topic, and then had the opportunity in those 2 foundation years to actually think about, you know, what's of interest to me, and what would I like to do in the future. And, you know, you have that time in order to be able to kind of, you know, really kind of think about what it is that you would like to do. Another one actually that maybe Jenny, you might have feel this one, torn between environmental science and engineering, not sure what the right choice is. You know, how would you advise a student to kind of, you know, to think about which one is the right one for you?
Yeah, so I think the new TR064, so because basically a third of it is the sciences, a third is environmental engineering, or even more broader engineering, but mostly focused on environmental engineering, and a third is bespoke. So really you get exposed to all of those topics in 2 years, and you're really only beginning to narrow down with some choices. So you, in year 3, and it's really year 4 that you make the decision, and that would come with your internship or your industry placement. It would either be more focused on environmental engineering or more on environmental sciences. And I would say all our students know they are passionate about the environment and coming up with solutions for environmental, you know, global to local environmental challenges. And, you know, some know exactly what they want to do, others take a few years. And I think it's like all of our programs at Trinity, you have time. So you're not shoehorned in from the start. You have a good few years to make a decision.
Yeah, cool. So there's one here on study abroad. I don't know, did any of you guys as students here, have you done study abroad? Charlie, did you do study abroad? Okay, could you maybe just talk to that then, maybe your experiences?
Yeah, sure. So I did a uni exchange in 3rd year to the University of Western Australia down in Perth. It was definitely the highlight of my undergrad degree. And I still kind of remember to this day. It was a really, really cool experience. And I think like if we look like back at the map there, like there is just so many universities that you can go to. There's obviously loads in Europe. But having the opportunity to go that far and to like see how geography is taught from I think from a very different perspective, I found that quite helpful, and it was just a great experience. It was sunshine nearly every single day. I would really recommend study abroad if you're considering it.
Brilliant, thanks Charlie. It's a question here on opportunities to do research or internships during the summer break. So there's a number of options here. There are things like paid internships, competitive paid internships. I think there are 2 still, Jenny, that run with the Botanic Gardens. So within natural sciences, we have a really neat resource, the Botanic Gardens down in Dartry, not the National Botanic Gardens in Glasnevin, but our own ones. And as part of that, there are 2 paid research internships that operate there each year. There's also, you know, coming back to, you know, Trinity and particularly natural sciences being really heavily involved in research. So there's opportunities to engage with kind of the research activities within the school. There's also an opportunity to kind of, you know, take on summer research as part of the capstone project in some cases. So, you know, many students integrate within research teams within the school, and then, you know, undertake field-based research or other aspects of research during the summer period. And there's also kind of our links to our networks. So, linking out to networks that we have, both lots of the employers that we've spoken about with our research projects. And then, of course, Jenny spoke to the internship option that's part of the Environmental Sciences and Engineering degree program as well.
And Matt, it's worth saying the students who do the industry internship for semester 2, many of them are offered paid internship then for the summer. So they stay on with the companies and work for the summer. So this, once you've got a link with the company, it's very beneficial for both.
Perfect.
I'm going to have to go and teach now, though, so I'm going to slip off and say goodbye to everyone.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, we'll finish up in a second. There's a couple of questions here. So, pursuing biology, biomedical sciences, the first year is a study designed to teach students about different concentrations. So this speaks back to what Nessa was talking about. When you come into biology, biomedical sciences, those 2 foundation years really give you the opportunity to kind of, think about, where you would like to go in relation to the specialized moderatorship that you do as part of that program. So you have the time and the space and the content, the course structure to be able to think about that as well. How much biology is mathematics? So again, there is mathematics involved, but again, we have physics, chemistry, mathematics that have been now kind of tailored for biological sciences. So again, we appreciate that not everybody has, the kind of in-depth skills in those. There will be the entry requirements, of course, you need to think about, but in terms of when you come into Trinity, we have actually developed the course and the programs to be able to cater for everybody in that perspective. So genetics and fieldwork, I can't really answer that because we don't directly work in genetics, but of course, there is the molecular aspect of what we do in terms of, kind of evolution, as Jenny mentioned, kind of plants, animal, and environment. So there are links with genetics, but it's not something that we kind of directly work with. The mix of students in each class, gender balance and nationalities. I couldn't answer that directly. It varies a lot. We have, visiting students. We have, a good mix of gender balance within the program as well. I can see the students nodding there. So yeah, that's good. So I'm cognizant of time, James. I might just finish up with one of the questions to the students, just to finish off. And it was, what has been your favorite module so far? And why? So Lydia, you first. Lydia, Ben, and John.
Okay. I think I also typed an answer to that one, but I've had a few. I'd say for this year so far that I love fundamental ecology and environmental monitoring, just because we've had a lot of labs, and it's really, really interesting. The one, we went to the Dodder itself and we kicked up a bunch of stuff and we caught a bunch of organisms in this little net. And we got to take them out and observe them and see, like, based off of like just the tiny, like, microscopic differences, we got to see like what kind of species they were. And then using that, we like got to understand like the quality of like the river and stuff. It was so interesting. So yeah, I love that one. And I also I love last year we had sustainable production, which is something I'm really interested in because I want to like learn more about how to make products like have less of an impact on the world. So that one was really fun as well. I love that one too.
Brilliant, thanks, Lydia. Ben, let's go to you next.
So I was lucky enough this year to be in the tropical ecology module, which we went down to Kenya for, and it was phenomenal. Just getting to, I think one of my favorite parts was meeting talking to the people who live there and seeing their experiences, and of course just seeing the different plant and animal species there. It was always mind blowing. I couldn't get over it.
Brilliant, thanks, Ben. And Charlie?
I think going back to first year, one module that really stuck with me was the human geography module called Society in Space. There's just a lot of like foundational theory that we would have looked at, like space, place, scale, and landscapes. That was just foundational for like what I'm doing now in my master's. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and thank you all for attending. I hope this has been useful and informative, and hopefully see you all at some point soon in Trinity if you're coming to do a degree in natural sciences. James has put the contact details into the chat there, so if you have any further questions, you can contact the E3 team directly, and they can help answer any additional questions you have. But again, thank you all for your time, and I look forward to seeing you all at some point soon.